Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. I am so happy today to join you at our new day and time with one of my favorite people in the world. Yes, she and I have been together since she was really young and I was a little bit younger, uh, back at Essence Magazine, and we have stayed connected in a thousand different ways over the years, making, creating, loving our people and figuring out ways to celebrate all that makes us great. So let me tell you, my guest is Michaela Angela Davis. She is a writer, creative director, producer, and image activist focusing on the intersections of gender, race, fashion, culture, beauty, and identity. She is the creator and executive producer of Hulu's The Hair Tales. Have you seen it yet? Yes, it's a dynamic six-part docu-series celebrating Black women's identity, beauty, culture, and humanity, uniquely expressed through the stories in hair. And it features Ayanna Presley, Chica, Marseille Martin, Chloe Bailey, and fellow executive producers Tracy Ellis Ross and Oprah Winfrey. Also, Michaela Angela Davis collaborated with Mariah Carey on The Meaning of Mariah Carey, a memoir of her identity that became an instant number one New York Times bestseller. Michaela's done tons of things, and I could read more of her bio, but I want to do is bring her on right this second. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Michaela Angela Davis.
Hi, Harriet.
Yay!
Yay.
I'm so happy to be with you, girl, and I'm so proud of you. So
Yeah,
proud.
thank you. But Harriet, it's a journey and we've been on it for a long
Yes,
time and it doesn't feel like an arrival. It just feels like another stop on the journey, right?
absolutely. I was thinking about working at Essence with Susan Taylor,
Hmm.
and one of the things that she made sure we understood as it relates to hair is that every texture, every style, every way we want to present ourselves as Black women can and should be celebrated, that there isn't one way.
That's right.
And and you know, back in the early days at Essence, we were among the only ones with that story. It wasn't a universal story in the way it is becoming today.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a public universal story. It's always been our story, right? It's
That's right.
always been our culture. We have generations of Black women that stood on their feet with their hands in our heads, giving us dignity, giving us some pocket money to go to college, holding the communities down. Like we know what beauty workers, what hair, creativity, economy, history has meant to us, but it's been sort of isolated and not. Essence was one of the only places to like celebrate it and show
That's
it to
it.
you, and you can like splay it out on your table,
That's
or
right.
look at it in the beauty parlor, right? And say, I want
Yes.
this style. This, predating Instagram and all that stuff. Like you brought in tear sheets.
Yes, yes. So that you could show people what you wanted. And so the Hair Tales, I remember prior to this beautiful project airing on Hulu with in collaboration with Oprah Winfrey and Tracy Ellis Ross.
Hmm.
How incredible is just that? That's a drop the mic moment on its
Hmm.
own. But Michaela, you were doing these conversations. I remember being at Hair Rules with Dickie and you hosting conversations with
Hmm.
experts in different, from our Dr. Rose, who is part of the Hair Tales, talking about
Hmm.
in to hairstylists and other folks. You've been having this conversation in a public forum for a long time. Why is it so important to you for the exploration of Black women's consciousness
Hmm.
about their hair to be discussed?
We deserve it, Harriet. We deserve the research. We deserve the anthropological curiosity. We deserve the scholarship that is in our hair. And so, what you described, it, you know, Hair Rules and Dickie's salon was kind of my first laboratory
Hmm.
of listening to women who were transitioning, mostly, right, particularly CEOs and women who were, public or of a certain stature, going from relaxed hair or some kind of treated hair into natural hair. and hearing their stories, in 5 minutes you would hear hysterical laughter or crying, and so it was clear to me by listening to their stories in the same. This is what Zora Neale Hurston did. This is what
Yes,
you know what I mean. This is how we learn, and in actually the same methodology that Eve Ensler did with the vagina monologues, where she used the vagina as a tool to talk about sexual violence, and she interviewed hundreds of women.
that's
Right,
true.
I'm using hair as an organizing principle to talk about Black women's identity. And I have interviewed hundreds of Black women at
Mhm.
Afropunk, at Spelman, in South Africa, in Paris, literally bringing a kitchen table inspired by the Karen May Weems series, kitchen table
Yeah.
series. I literally bought a white Formica table to where Black women were and just gathered stories. And so it's important for us to put in the work for us, right? And
Mhm.
that's what I was doing, is kind of proof of concept and doing the homework, so that when we
Mhm.
did get to this place, it was rich, it was grounded, it had some bottom, right?
Yeah.
And that was important. We deserve the Black women deserve the very best, and I that was the goal. Like, can I bring the very best thinkers, the very best people? We have Michelle and Deocello doing the music. We have Black Archives doing our archives. Micheline Thomas giving
Yeah.
us our
Art.
interstitials, our art. So it was like I just was trying to like get as many of the
And
best, baddest Black women.
it's beautiful how it's all interwoven
Hmm.
and generationally interwoven. You know, that
Yes.
that you really, and when you were describing going from Afropunk to South Africa and everywhere in between, you have cultural differences,
Hmm.
age differences,
Hmm.
location differences, so many things that I think also help to prove that we are not monolithic. You
That's
know,
right.
Black people are all kinds of things, but not one thing. And our
And
hair
that's
is certainly not one thing.
And that's what I love about the location of the salon. It is one
Hmm.
of the most democratic places and safe places Black women could be. You could be a Pentecostal Christian sitting next to a Muslim, sitting next to an atheist, sitting next to a 16-year-old, girl. Everyone is in that salon. That does not happen in sororities. That doesn't happen in places of worship. You kind of rally around that one thing. In a salon, you could be a Delta sitting next to, like, everybody could be
Everybody's
there.
there. Everybody's there. And one of the things that I like so much about the television series is, on TV now you do need to include celebrity because that dazzle helps to draw an audience. But you bring in the celebrity and then immediately get real. So we start with Oprah. And
Right.
even though people have been looking at Oprah Winfrey for 30 plus years, and she has been the keep it real girl all this time, there's a she has gotten to a place where it's a different level of relaxation and keep it real, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And she just lays it bare, and I'm from Baltimore. I remember when Oprah came to Baltimore. I was in junior high school. It was the first
Wow.
commercial I was ever in, Michaela. It was, but when I think about it, I didn't know I
Wow.
was a kid. But what I would I have to tell you this because it's so crazy, and because I was a kid, I apologize in advance. But my line was, I answer a telephone in a
Hmm.
bedroom that looks like a 1960s bedroom, phone rings, and I say, "What is an Oprah?" That was the introduction. That was what Baltimore thought we should say. I know. I'm sorry,
Oh,
but
but
that
I love this is Black history.
is true. Black. That was my first on-air job,
Wow.
and then she came. So she was a novelty. She had come from somewhere else. She had
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
odd name.
Hmm. Hmm.
And honestly, and I'm not proud of my city in this regard. They didn't treat her well. She
Hmm.
talks about it on your show.
Hmm.
They didn't treat her well. They didn't understand her. She was a broad-featured, dark-skinned black woman, and they didn't understand her. And she did well, kind of in spite of
Yes.
the town. She was on the show called People Are Talking. I remember so well because I was
Wow.
right there. And in spite of not being embraced the way she surely deserved,
Mhm.
she made it.
Yes.
Probably that put some fire in her belly because I'm going to make it anyway. But the story she tells, and I'll say to everybody, you need to watch the Hair Tales so you can see. But she talks about how, and this is so true, that her boss told her to come up to New York and get her hair done so it would look right, and that exercise literally destroyed her hair. How many of us have had that
I know.
experience?
And it was it was violent on so many subtle levels, and then to the end of it actually being really dangerous. Because I'd heard that story from her before, but the detail in which she went in, there's something very different. And I got this, I was watching Jet used to have a talk show, right? And I was very inspired by the Jet talk show, and also the conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. I watched that a lot, thinking about a tone in which you want to get Black people, even as profound as James Earl Jones, when James Baldwin, when they're talking to another Black person for Black people in a Black space, there's an honesty and a vulnerability that happens. And that was the same. This was at Oprah's house. She knew who she was talking to, Black women specifically, as an audience, and talking to Tracy directly. So there was there was a realness around her that we
Absolutely.
haven't seen in so long.
That's
Like
what I'm saying. It
she
was
became a Black girl
unmasked.
again.
It was
Yes,
unmasked. She shared, she was vulnerable and real
that's
in
right.
a way that I think just took away, she's worth $1 billion or whatever those things are that don't
Yes.
matter as
Hmm.
it relates to identity.
It kind of recentered, like, oh,
Mhm.
right, Oprah's ours. Oprah's one of us.
Yes.
Oprah's a Black girl.
Yes.
Because even when Oprah was kind of explaining to Tracy about the three,
The three braids.
the three braids, I was like, yeah, like she was actually giving her Black girl cultural,
Right.
references, and all of that was like, oh, right, she came from Mississippi. Like she came from Mississippi.
And that means so many things.
Yes.
And then, so then I want to go. So Issa Rae, let's talk about her.
Oh, oh
I
my
mean,
God,
I
I love
love
Issa
that
Rae.
you included her, and
Hmm.
she's so
Beautiful.
huge and popular right now. But
Hmm.
starting with Awkward Black Girl, such an image of what so many Black girls have been
Yeah.
in, just trying to figure ourselves out. And one of the things that she says in her episode about her hair having so many different textures, I call them different neighborhoods. Like I got I got West Africa back here, but
Hmm.
on this side I got something else. But when she talks about the different textures, we know, we
Yeah.
understand, we touch our heads, and so many different textures that many of us have. And today, Michaela,
Hmm.
I'm thinking of when I was growing up, they didn't have any of the hair products that we have today, so you can actually do your hair and not have to chemically straighten it. But now we celebrate the textures.
Yeah.
There are letters and numbers associated with textures rather than judgments.
Yes. Yes. And Issa was so important because that moment in Awkward Black, like she started that, very innovative web show, cutting her hair, like
Yes.
getting to her truth and getting to her textures. And you're right, there's something about having not only the products but the tools for us to play with our textures. It signals that someone is cares about us, because when you just have pink lotion and Vaseline and like Afro Sheen, and I still keep some Afro Sheen, like you know
Afro
but
Sheen is good. Guess what? Pink lotion is good. It's just that it was
it's the
created
only,
how many years ago, and there's a lot more now.
and if it wasn't from really the demand from the streets, from real women, they would have been happy to give us pink lotion forever.
Oh
meaning the
yeah.
bigger, but you had the Carol's daughters and women who were like literally cooking up things in their kitchen,
Yep.
selling it back to us at festivals. Then when YouTube happened, like that was a whole thing.
Whew.
Like we were able to get coconut oil, we were able to get, black castor oil, we were able to, share, oh, this thing works for this, or argan oil. And then the corporations responded, right? So there has
Exactly.
been our need. We've been taking care of ourselves basically, but now when you have all these other tools and products, then you can explore your texture, because most of us know that because it's raining outside, I have an afro, like I can't, right? So
Absolutely.
our texture changes with the weather, with our sleep patterns, with our age, like every day it's so dynamic. So
It's
we need our things.
true. And you talk about the things like structurally.
Hmm.
Again, I'm recommending the folks to watch the Hair Tales. There's 6 episodes, and in each episode, yes, there's the grounding uh, celebrity, but then there's so many other components, and there's
Hmm.
always a beauty parlor where you see women sitting around talking. You see the stylists who are styling. You know, I'm,
Laying. Yes.
oh,
But
oh,
that the salon is the heart to me. It's the heart of the show, and structurally it acts as like a Greek chorus, right? And so when putting the show together and thinking of the narrative going in this like hero's journey, like, so we were using some classical foundations to build the show, and they act as like this Greek chorus where they come and they give you levity, give you context, give you um the source, right? And commentary. So where is there better commentary than in a salon? Like it's the best, because they're all, even more so than a barbershop, because we're in there longer, right? Like you're in there for
much,
hours,
much longer.
much longer. So it that's where, I mean, the thought is that that's actually where we come up with the ideas of who we even want to talk to, is because women are talking about them in the salon.
Mhm.
And again, hoping to communicate that everyone is welcome there, because there are people with different identities that were in there. They came from different backgrounds. You heard like deep Louisiana accents,
Yes.
LA. And so I love that part, but I also loved bringing all these experts to the table: Dr. Tiffany Gill and Amani and Dr. Ingleton, Dr. Morgan, all these, Dr. Brooks, who I would arguably say wrote the first real academic text called Hair Raising in 1995, who's the chair of Africana Studies at Brown. So we can show Black women have been thinking and studying and organizing our culture around hair in the academy for a long time, but it's been kind of stuck in the academy. We didn't know, just a regular layperson, that Black women have been thinking about us through this lens and doing research. So putting it in a more mainstream arena was really important. Um, and Elle Moxley, there is no liberation movement without Black trans women. So that was really important, that we bring as many people's
Sure.
voices to the table, right?
And I love that you bring them to the table without like waving a flag or putting a sign,
Hmm.
this is a trans woman. You she's just present and she's
Yes.
telling her story as opposed to having to have there were no labels on anyone.
And
I would-
acknowledging, Ayana Bird, them doing hair stories, you know what I mean? Like, was
Absolutely.
important. And maybe
And
there
Lori
wasn't,
Tharps, Ayana Bird
and
and Lori
Lori,
Tharps, right?
thank you for, because I
Yeah,
was working on the Lori part, but but making sure that we also acknowledge, like, there was work done, and maybe you
a
can
lot.
revisit these books and find
Yep.
them now that we have this bigger, flashier platform. That was
So I
really
want,
important.
yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about Micheline Thomas for a moment. I've
Mm.
loved her work for so long, and just, my daughter is in college now, believe it or not.
Oh
She's in her
Lord.
first year of college, and she's
Oof.
taking an art history class, and her
Wow.
thesis paper,
Hmm.
or it's really interactive, is about Black women artists who have taken a traditional art form
Hmm.
and kind of turned it on its head.
Mm.
And Micheline is featured in this, and
Oh,
she,
wonderful.
because the nudes that she does on the chaise lounge, or though
Hmm.
that was the classic European painting, and you had it in the film, and like, wait a minute, except for here she is with the big afro, and she's got a piece of African cloth
Hmm.
draped around her in one way or another. Just how the reclamation
Hmm.
of beauty as seen through a Black lens
Yes.
that Micheline has. I mean, of course, it's Micheline, but when you look back at that European art and see, wait a minute, girlfriend turned this thing on its head, and it's us, it's
It's
ours.
us. It's her mother. It's her aunties. It's her friends, and also the her classic use of collage and
Hmm.
being able to open that up and break that up. But then it's also like glittery and like 70s fabulous. And Micheline gets a lot of sensibilities in one painting. And so it was really wonderful to collaborate with her.
Hmm.
And the graphic artist Sibylle Stays, also a young Black woman who is the creative director at St. Heron, worked with her to create those transitions, and they worked closely together to deconstruct the painting and then put it to Michelle and Ndegeocello's music. Like, that's dreamy.
It is. So is the entire crew female?
The shot callers,
Hello, did you hear that? The shot callers, y'all.
Black
Uh,
women. Hmm.
Black women,
Hmm.
which, you when you watch, you definitely have the sense that a Black woman's touch, love, eye,
Arms. It was more
arms,
than a touch. Like,
everything.
we
Yeah,
had we
embrace,
yes,
embrace.
yes,
You
yes,
feel
that
the
was
you,
really
you feel
important.
the push, you feel the uplift, you feel all of it in watching. And I want to talk about Ayana for a moment, because she
Pre- Representative
Ayanna,
Ayana
yeah,
or Berg.
Representative Ayanna
Yes,
Presley,
yes.
that first of all, I didn't even know all of her journey. I've watched her peripherally over the years and seen what a fierce political advocate and star she has been for a community broader than her own.
Yes.
But then to lose her hair from alopecia, and to, you know,
Totalis.
totalis. Whew. And
In
you
five
show a
weeks.
picture, yeah, you show a picture of my friend Sheila Bridges,
Yes.
who has the
Yes.
same, and I remember her going through, she was taping a TV series, a a groundbreaking TV series, just as things like HTV were just
And
starting,
yes.
and was losing her hair in the
That was
midst of it.
important to put Sheila in there. Like, that was
Absolutely.
that was an intention. It was
I
an
know, and I
intention.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And just as fierce as Ayana is, she was also really vulnerable to say, this was really hard for me to lose my hair. And then you have Dr. Rose Ingleton talking about 50% of women, was it
Have
50% of Black
yeah,
women
Black
are
women.
going to
Some
have
form.
some form of alopecia in their lifetime?
Yes.
Did she explain why? Like, why is this so prevalent for us?
Well, there's so many mitigating factors. There's stress. There's DNA. There's there's the like internal stress, but the actual stress you put on her hair. And I feel like Dr. Rose was Dr. Ingleton. I call it Dr. Rose.
I
um
call it Dr. Rose too.
okay. She was careful not to make it one or two things, because the variables are really broad based on the lifestyle of the woman who was losing it. And that's why also it was important to have Pamela Farrell, from Cornrows and Company, who designed the hair for Daughters of the Dust, who's also been really studying our hair and our hair patterns, and how they connect to our health and our organs. Like, she's done a whole thing, and she can look at the back of your head and understand if your kidneys are
Wow.
working properly. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
kind of scary. That's some of that old school stuff, right? But
Bringing it
see,
back from the
but you know
ancestors.
what? And what's so interesting about that, when you say it, it reminds me that historically, you look at
Hmm.
all of our indigenous cultures around the world where Black
Yes.
people, Black women have been in leadership roles,
Hmm.
we knew all kinds of stuff,
Yes, ma'am.
all kinds of stuff. And then there came a point when people said, oh no, that's voodoo in a bad way. Oh, that's
Hmm.
magic. That's black magic. That's something. They put a label on it to say that our
Or it's
insight,
country, you
or it's,
know, or it's Bama, or it's country. You know, why you twisting your, like, when you think about your aunties that like put their hair in those big braids or twisted them up looking real country, it was protective styles.
oh
Like,
man.
yeah.
Okay, so our time is up. How can people watch the Hair Tales?
They can stream on Hulu all 6 episodes and on demand on OWN.
Okay, y'all, you must see it. It's on now. There's 6 episodes. It's an education, it's inspirational. Michaela Angela Davis came up with the concept, has been doing this work for years, and now it's on TV. Thank you so much, my sister.
Oh, thank you for having me, Harriet. I love you.
I love you too.
And thank you for letting us dream and leap.
Yep. And as we do it together, we all shine. Thank you,
That's
dear.
right.
Thank you all for joining me for Dream Leapers with Harriet Cole. Thanks for being here at our new date and time. Can't wait to see you next time. Until then, have a great day and make it count.